Hello, I'm Jayaprakash Narayan, interacting with you in Ask JP. Now from Amit Kumar, Visakhapatnam. He's a student. Amit, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. My name is Amit Kumar and I am a student. My question to you is India even being the fifth largest economy in the world, but our growth of our country is turning into jobless growth. So, what are the initiatives and measures must be taken to achieve job-led growth? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Amit. It's a very tough question. Perhaps the greatest challenge confronting Indian economy today. Jobless growth. 90% of the workers in the unorganized sector, the world's highest in large economies. 90% in unorganized sector. Without security of job, without a monthly wage earning. Low level of skills. And women increasingly out of the workforce participation. We used to have 30% women participating in the labor force. Today the number is about 19 to 20%. It's a decline rather than increase. In a country where there's enormous human resource, we're talking about demographic dividend, we're actually not able to utilize the talents. In answer to a different question, we address the challenges of education, the quality and the skills. Without skills, in the modern world, you cannot be productively employable. And with low-level skills, you will only have low-level employment in an unorganized sector with low productivity and therefore low incomes. Quality education from school level to start with, decent school education. Real education that enhances the ability to communicate and grasp and understand what is communicated. That helps you to understand basic mathematical knowledge and apply the mathematical concepts for real life problems. And that gives you the logical faculty to derive reasonable conclusions from a given situation or given facts. Without that ability, you cannot be a participant, a productive participant in the modern economy. We have failed very badly in that sector. Therefore, that must be a national movement to improve the outcomes, not merely improve enrollments and have pass percentage and marks. Those are not really relevant. Enrollment, of course, is necessary but not sufficient. We require real education. We are abysmally poor in that. But that's only one part. We have to actually grow jobs, even at the low end, but organized sector secure decent jobs with decent productivity. What are the obstacles apart from the quality of education and skills? If you want informal sector to become formalized, you require credit. Our credit system is still not reaching the bulk of the people. Some efforts are being made, but we cannot honestly say that most of the producers in India, the small producers, the tiny micro enterprises, they really can access credit. Therefore, they depend on informal credit, high interest, and all kinds of exploitative practices. Productivity. Without skills and technology and investment of capital machinery of the right kind to enhance productivity, it will be old-fashioned drudgerous jobs with low productivity and therefore low incomes. And then give dignity. If you still think of occupations as menial, as caste-based, but you don't upgrade them, don't apply modern technology and machinery and skills, don't enhance productivity and give dignity and comfort and honor in society, you cannot really provide many services in a modern context. So first is conscious efforts to formalize the economy. The second is labor laws. As many scholars have pointed out, they were very regressive, seemingly progressive, very rigid. Labor laws have been the single biggest killer of jobs in India. In our anxiety to protect a small fraction of the labor force in the organized sector, giving them excessive protection, we've ensured that there is no incentive to create new jobs. Almost every entrepreneur intuitively in India wants to prevent job creation, go for capital-intensive technologies without really growing jobs. Take the textile sector, the garment sector. India has natural comparative advantage. A, we are one of the largest producers of cotton. B, traditionally, textiles and garment making is a very powerful occupation throughout our history. C, it requires low level of skills. But how come India is way below, let alone Bangladesh, which is a poor country which has special quotas? Take China. China exports $125 billion of garments. China is 5 times richer than us in GDP per capita terms or GDP terms. And yet, China is able to produce and export $125 billion of garments. India does only about $15-20 billion. Just one example. The single biggest reason is there is no incentive for a small producer to become a big company. A small one to become medium, medium to become large. Therefore, garment making in the large measure is very tiny companies, not growing. If you don't grow beyond a point, A, you have credit difficulties. B, you have technology difficulties. You can't acquire the capital for upgrading the technology. C, you have management difficulties. You can't hire the finest managers at a low scale. And D, you have marketing difficulties. You can market and brand your product, etc. only when you're big enough. Take the example of one enterprise. I am very enthused when I looked at it. In a place called Achyutapuram near Visakhapatnam, close to where Amit lives, and now Anakapalli district, earlier Visakhapatnam district, a company called Brandix. Some Sri Lankan entrepreneurs came and invested there. They have tied up with a global brand, Victoria's Secret. 22,000 women are employed. Low-end employment, low-skill employment, but honest, respectable, wage-earning, secure, dignified employment. 22,000 women. In hundreds of villages in the surrounding areas, every single woman who wants employment is employed here. They all come from the villages by bus every day. They are sent back by bus again so that they're not dislocated unless they wish to come out of that village. They're with their families. They have a creche and other facilities so that they can take care of their families. And all the advantages of organized sector are available to them. And it's a very successful company. We should have had such companies in every district of India, not merely 1 or 2 to demonstrate in a whole country of 1.4 billion people. Labor laws. We did not allow them to scale up deliberately, foolishly. Thinking that we are doing good to the labor, we ended up creating unemployment and killing jobs. Labor laws. We must completely or near completely deregulate. We should not allow degrading exploitation, but that's not the world we live in. That was the world of 19th century and early 20th century. In today's world, even for labor, there's competition. Unless the employer actually attracts good labor, retains them, and pays them decently, the employer cannot survive. We're in a different world. Many of our laws and attitudes are for a century ago, not for today's world. And we should have had minimal regulation and real freedom. Instead of upgrading, skilling, and providing sense of security if they are between jobs, we simply made it near impossible for people to get rid of workers when they cannot afford those workers, or when the company is not able to market the product adequately, or the worker is simply not productive enough. And therefore, we created jobless growth in the country. It is a direct result of very bad but conscious policy over the years across the spectrum in the country at the national and state levels. Then labor-intensive manufacturing. We must give special emphasis. Textiles, plastics, footwear and leather industry. India is the largest producer of leather in the world. And yet we are not the biggest leather industry manufacturers in the world. Automobile components, the sports goods, food processing and agro-processing, and a whole lot of other areas. The production incentive program initiated by the government recently must not only apply to technology sectors. It's necessary. India is a big country. We have aspirations to be an important global player. Therefore, we cannot ignore the important emerging technologies. But we must focus also on the employment-generating low-tech industries, the labor-intensive industries. I think the PLI the scope must be widened to really encourage very large-scale deployment of labor force in these low-tech industries. And of course, at the school level, vocationalization for the low-end jobs. The national education policy, which came about a couple of years ago, is a rational one at last. After 75 years, we figured out some of the things that are terribly wrong with our education. But a good policy is not enough. It must actually be translated into reality across the spectrum. And finally, quality healthcare. Healthcare provides employment. Healthcare also enhances capacity, productivity. So good healthcare, apart from good education, skilled education, good healthcare is a significant enabler and multiplier in generating employment, in enhancing productivity, and therefore increasing incomes and stimulating the economy. I think these are the things that we should attempt. The world of the future is going to throw up new demands, new needs. Old jobs are going to die. Therefore, we must anticipate the needs and leapfrog wherever possible. We committed many mistakes in the past 70, 75 years. But with rapid changes in technologies, we can actually leapfrog and then anticipate the future. Just as in mobile phones, our technology is probably better than many rich countries because we came late but we embraced newer technologies. It's possible to actually anticipate the future in a country with very low level of organized employment. It's possible to look at new ways of creating employment in an innovative manner, but we must give up the cobwebs of the mind. And we must give up the old-fashioned notions of socialism without creation of jobs or generating wealth. That socialism was bad. Real socialism is about creating opportunities, giving education and healthcare, making people employable, growing jobs, growing the economy, and eliminating poverty and discrimination by birth. Real socialism is not license, control, permit Raj, which is inhibiting growth, not creating jobs, perpetuating poverty, making people dependent on somebody else's charity. That's not real socialism, that's bogus socialism. We must do real policies to promote equity and opportunity for everybody. We have done badly in some respects, we're doing well in some respects, we have to correct the mistakes and take advantage of the opportunity.